What's up, everybody? Ryan Thomas here, live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Rocking a new headset. I like the other mic that I have, but I want to continue to improve the audio quality. Got myself the A10s today. Very excited to get started. I don't care how stupid these look. They look very stupid, to be quite fair. But I like them. I enjoy them. I can hear better. The audio quality is better. And I'm assuming that people will enjoy the podcast more than they already do, due to the fact that the audio quality is a little bit better. So, that being said, the guy at GameStop told me that these would look like somewhat of a halo around my head, and I frankly don't really care. I wanted to hop on here on the podcast today and talk about in final, the 2018 quarterback class. This quarterback class offers a lot of interesting storylines as far as there's a wide variety of teams that are quarterback needy. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and you got some of the middle tier guys. Mason Rudolph being the outlier to those guys, and then the Luke Falks and the Laulettas and all those guys out there. So there's a lot to take in there as far as the amount of quarterback prospects are oftentimes in a I'd say in a bubble, because they're talked about so often, they're talked about so frequently that things can kind of get a little, things can kind of get a little blown out of proportion with the quarterbacks, because they're talked about far more than any other position. So that being said, I'm very excited to hop on here and give you guys my take. And I have scouting reports that were written by Dan Schalk and Lance Zierlein and some other writers from NFL.com that I didn't print out to buy, but I'll give credit to those writers to say the least. I want to talk about the quarterback that I think is the best quarterback in this class, and that is USC quarterback Sam Darnold. And I'm going to tell you why. Out of all the quarterbacks in this class, you can say that Sam Darnold has definitely hit his bumps in the road. That there's been more bumps in the road with Sam Darnold than there has been with some other quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield had a very, very successful college career. Josh Rosen had a lot of comeback performances that Sam Darnold did not have. But I rank Sam Darnold as the top quarterback in this class for the sole purpose that out of all the quarterbacks in this class, I personally believe that Sam Darnold has more room to grow than any other quarterback in this draft. More room to grow, meaning that the ceiling is higher for him than any other quarterback in this draft, because Sam Darnold has the personality traits to go above and beyond and make himself a better player. That is why I like Sam Darnold the most. Written by Lance Zierlein here, he said, at the end of the day, Darnold has NFL size, arm strength, accuracy, pocket mobility, poise, and field reading capability. Excuse me, as I burped there. His windup is an eyesore for sure, but he has the velocity to mitigate the additional release time. While Darnold has the mental toughness and talent to start tomorrow, early sideline seasoning could help him better process coverages in an attempt to eliminate future interceptions. Darnold has the tools to thrive in any system and doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to have perfect protection to succeed. His floor is solid starter, but he has the ceiling to be one of the top tier quarterbacks in the game as he gains more experience. Now, as I send this text here, as I look at that, as we read that, as we go through that, there's a lot to take in there, most of which is somewhat compliments, and then there's little nuggets of what they don't like in Sam Darnold. And this is written by Lance Zierlein. He thinks that his arm throwing motion is a little bit too long. He thinks this, he thinks that. But there were compliments in there. Size, arm strength, accuracy, pocket mobility, poise, and field reading capability. That alone is paramount to the transition from an NCAA college quarterback to an NFL pro football quarterback. That alone, NFL size, arm strength, accuracy, pocket mobility, poise, and field reading capability. That's all I need to know. Anything else outside of that, I believe, can be refined, can be tweaked, can be ironed out, so to speak, when talking about Sam Darnold. Let's talk about his weaknesses, though. Weaknesses: elongated release. Elongated release is impossible to miss. Ball drops to his waist with forearm pointed towards the ground pre-delivery. Wind up gives defenders early clue to break on the throw. Muscle memory may not allow for release correction. Turnover total is alarming. Finished 2017 with 13 interceptions and 9 lost fumbles. Has 20 interceptions over the last 20 games. Turnovers are a huge part of what scares people away from Sam Darnold, but I have some reasoning for that. Decision making and field vision were inconsistent this year. Tendency to rush throws once internal clock winds down. Too much mustard on some short throws. Muscles, too many throws rather than driving the lower half. Too willing to throw from uneven platform. Intermediate accuracy fall from 2016. Can throw with better placement and lead his targets. Deep ball touch needs work. One of the dumbest criticisms, I think, in this scouting report written by Lance Zierlein. Too willing to throw from uneven platform. One of his weaknesses is the fact that he is not gun shy. Sam Darnold wants to put the ball wherever he wants to put it, whenever he wants, however he wants. In any circumstance, he's going to sling the football. That I like about Sam Darnold, but the double-edged sword. With that can come turnovers, with that can come inaccurate throws, and with that can come a lot of frustration for a team hoping that this guy is the quarterback of the future. But I'm here to tell you that in 2016, Sam Darnold lost one major weapon to their offense at the University of Southern Cal, and that was current Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster, we all know what he brings to the table now. We all know that Juju Smith-Schuster is for real. He's a real deal player. Oftentimes, Antonio Brown actually took a back seat to Juju Smith-Schuster. Dare I say it? He took a back seat a little bit in certain games. Juju Smith-Schuster is probably one of the best number 2 wideouts in the National Football League right now. Although he's coming off one season, he had a fantastic rookie season. That was Darnold's main man, Juju Smith-Schuster, gone. I think that has a lot to do with some of the turnovers and some of the inconsistent, inaccurate throws. I know that losing a weapon of his caliber had to have hurt, and that's all I can say on that. One thing that I want to say about Darnold as well is that Darnold is a player that I think realistically does not get enough credit for how he handles the draft process. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks kind of falter from the draft process. Darnold is a guy that he makes things happen. In terms of his personality, in terms of how he communicates with the media, I like that, and I think that that is crucial in looking for a real franchise quarterback. You have to get a guy that is willing that face of the franchise. And Darnold, I think the capabilities of doing that. Those things actually do matter, and people say, well, maybe they shouldn't, but they do. They do. Regardless of whether they should or they shouldn't, they definitely do. Actually, I'm just texting my brother right now. So that's Sam Darnold. To me, I think he's the best quarterback in this draft, and that's why I started off with him first. I know the turnovers are a little bit scary. I know that there's some reasons to believe that. I understand that. I get that. But I am willing to say that, as Lance Zierlein wrote in this scouting report, there is some room for improvement, and maybe sitting Sam Darnold his first rookie season is what should happen. So that's Sam Darnold. Josh Rosen. Now, this is the next guy. Josh Rosen is a polarizing prospect. There's things about Josh Rosen that I like a lot, and then there's things about Josh Rosen that I think are so-so. I'm not talking, I want to nip the issue in the butt right here, right now. Josh Rosen is a guy that, for all intents and purposes, has that chip on his shoulder, has that chip off the old block, as they like to call it. But I don't think that that's an issue. I'm not saying that his personality is an issue. I'm not saying his competitive nature is an issue. I'm not saying any of that. People are getting into the fact that he rubs some people the wrong way. I don't really care about that, to be quite honest. But I do care about the fact that he has had 2 to 3 concussions during his playing career pre NFL. And you often wonder, a guy like that, a guy that's very smart, a guy that has other things in his background that will definitely be a part of his life once football is over, how long is Josh Rosen going to actually play in the National Football League? How long? Is it going to be 10 years? It's going to be 7 years? Jim Kelly, who is revered, as he should be, by Buffalo Bills fans, was rated as, or not rated, had played in the National Football League for the Bills for 11 years. That isn't that long when you look at the today's day and age of the NFL. And you can say that, Kelly only played that long because that era, those guys took a lot of hits. But in an era that is so aware of concussions and the toll that they take on a player's body, you have to wonder if Josh Rosen knows that himself, and really sees this as just a means to an end. I think he's a competitive guy. I don't think he's not competitive at all. I don't think anybody would say, any quarterback especially, would say that they want to have as many rings as Tom Brady, if not more, if they were not competitive. That made the hairs on my neck stand up when I heard that he said that, and that definitely somewhat silenced the critics in terms of how long do they think he's going to be willing to play. But regardless, his dad is a neurosurgeon. I'm sure he knows just as well as any player currently in the NFL what concussions can actually do to the human brain and to the human body, you could say too. All that said, let's talk about what I think makes him special. The footwork and NFL quote unquote mechanics, that word is always thrown around. Rosen is as clean and as precise as they come. You don't have the questions, in comparison to Sam Darnold's release point, things like that analysts look at. You don't have those questions at all with Josh Rosen. There isn't a long release. There isn't he is as pretty a quarterback as you can find in this draft. Lance Zierlein writes, the biggest concern with Rosen is that his on-field success requires many elements to stay on schedule. He lacks plus arm strength. Identifying coverage and throwing with anticipation takes on added importance. Rosen has pocket poise, accuracy, and intelligence to become a great NFL starter. Actually said good NFL starter. But he needs to be willing to take what defenses give him more frequently. Rosen will need to quell concerns surrounding leadership and coachability early on in order to establish strong first impression and get his career off on the right foot. A strong first impression, get his career get it off on the right foot. I'm sorry, messed that part up. Tennis prodigy with impeccable footwork and delivery balance, plays with excellent coordination. Everything about him physically is there. When you go to his weaknesses, though, the first weakness that I didn't even read this, actually, I just flipped the page for the first time, but durability is a real concern to me with Josh Rosen more than any other quarterback outside of Lamar Jackson, and I'll get to him a little bit later. Durability. Slight build, has had injuries dating back to high school, concussions, knee, ankle, things like that are very vital for a quarterback, obviously. My problem with Josh Rosen is this, and I say this all the time, and it's not just about Josh Rosen, it's about the draft process and quarterbacks and things like that. This process is, The teams that are very, very bad that need quarterbacks are the ones that are going to take the top flight college quarterbacks, which means that the top flight college quarterbacks are going to go to the worst teams in the NFL right out of the gate. They're at a disadvantage. Josh Rosen out of the gate is at a disadvantage if he gets selected by one team in this entire draft, and that is the New York Jets. The New York Jets moved up from 6 to 3. They traded 3 second-round draft picks to move up 3 spots with the Indianapolis Colts. The New York Jets take Josh Rosen. I've said this on the show many times. The New York Jets take Josh Rosen. They're putting themselves at a huge, or Josh Rosen, I should say, they're putting Josh Rosen at a huge disadvantage due to the fact that they don't have that second-round pick. They don't have another second-round pick or another set. They'll be without 3 second-round picks to build around Josh Rosen and create Josh Rosen more opportunity on their roster. I don't care how much cap space you got. In today's NFL, that cap space goes away very, very quickly with the amount of players that are making the money that they're making via free agency. Whether you're past your prime, whether you're still in your prime, players are deemed to be making far more money. That's where players really get paid, is in free agency due to the CBA. CBA, the guys make cheap money, 4 years, and they get the fifth-year option, and they go into the free agency, and they get paid. So short-term or long-term, either way, they get paid. So all that being said, I hope for his sake, for Josh Rosen's sake, he doesn't go to the Jets. And mock draft analysts and NFL analysts say how great of a fit that is if it goes to the Jets. I completely disagree with that. They have Isaiah Crowell, their number one wide receiver, Terrell Pryor, Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse is a stud, but I'm a little bit worried. I'd be a little bit worried early on, at least, if I'm Josh Rosen and I go to the New York Jets. Baker Mayfield. All right, so I'm going to keep this short. I think Baker Mayfield, and I'm going to put this plain and simple, I'm going to look right into the camera as I say it. I think Baker Mayfield is one of the most overrated, over-talked about prospects in this draft. Did he have a fantastic college career? 100%. There's no doubting that. But did he also benefit from playing in an extremely limited offense? And will his skill set that made him so great in college translate to the National Football League? And that is the huge question with Baker Mayfield, as it is with all the other quarterbacks, but I think it's the biggest question with Baker Mayfield. His 6-foot frame, guys, you can't tell right now, but I'm 5'7" on a good day. On a good day, I do not believe Baker Mayfield is 6 foot tall. I'm thinking maybe 5'9". I'm thinking maybe on a bad day, 5'8.5". There's no way that Baker Mayfield is 6 foot tall, and I'll leave it at that. I know people that were at the Senior Bowl. I know a lot of people in the business that were at the Senior Bowl, that were at college games, and Baker Mayfield is not 6 foot tall. I can tell you that for sure. Maybe with some high heel cleats on, but, I don't even know if they make those. I highly doubt they do. But Mayfield is not 6 foot tall. He's tough and competitive. He's a very tough guy. He's competitive. He's got the chip on his shoulder. He does all the things that you want, in a quarterback in terms of his competitive fire. But in terms of what you want in a franchise guy, some teams like that, some teams don't. Do I? Not really. So there's that to start off. He's got a very good arm for his frame. I think that his timing on his throws is what really impresses me. His ability to roll out and throw that over-the-shoulder pass. He ran a college offense that was extremely limited, as wide as 15 to 20 plays. The adjustment from the NCAA to the NFL is going to be a bit of a gap for him, in my opinion. Weaknesses fall short of size marks for traditional early-round quarterback, to say the least. Short with drop-down release makes him more susceptible to batted passes, benefited from spread scheme that created huge passing windows to throw to. Will see increased importance on post-snap reads, needs to improve full field scanning. Footwork is erratic. Ball placement wanes when he tries to gun it. and I know exactly what they mean by that. The ball fades on certain routes, fades. It doesn't continue its spiral. It kind of just dies, which that's due to the fact that he's as small as he is. He's a lot smaller than 6 foot tall. I know so many Baker Mayfield lovers out there, and I hate to break it to you, but I'm not. I'm not one of them. That's another guy that could potentially be doomed if he's drafted in a situation where the guy's got to play right away. Uh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Josh Allen is a guy that I think is the biggest boom or bust quarterback in this draft. But if you were to tell me a kid from Wyoming that went to a community college for 2 years would be talked about and considered as one of the best, you know, top 20 prospects in this draft and in this quarterback class as a first round draft pick, I would tell you that he's obviously doing something right. Something is going right for Josh Allen. And people say, well, he's going to be a bust. Well, guys, he completed 46% of his passes in college. Is that great? No. But who was he? Where was he playing? He was playing at Wyoming. The only guy that I know that came out of Wyoming outside of Josh Allen is Eddie Yarborough. And that's because he's on my team, our team, the Buffalo Bills. Outside of that, I'm not sure if I know anybody that's come out of Wyoming the last few years that's been in the talk of, the draft. Maybe possibly even the first overall pick I've heard on several mock drafts. So there's a lot to take in there. A guy that I think is as big and as strong as any quarterback in this class, but he might not have the niches that Rosen has honed the last few years, or the niches that Darnold has honed the last few years, or even to an extent Mayfield the last few years. Mayfield stays in his lane. He knows what he can do. He knows what he can't do. Sometimes Allen tries to do a little bit too much, and that's what's gotten him into trouble. I think he's a perfect quarterback for a team that wants someone to play for the next couple years, which is why I've linked him to Buffalo on several occasions in several past episodes of the Thomas Take Sports podcast. We also got Mason Rudolph. Rudolph, a guy that I think size-wise is definitely eye-opening. A guy that I think size-wise, he's got all the physical tools that you would want in a franchise quarterback, and that stuff matters, people. There's very few and far between. You look at the quarterbacks the last few years, guys like Big Ben. That's what I see when I see Mason Rudolph, a guy that can extend plays due to his size, due to his strength. Playing at Oklahoma State, he might not have played against the best competition, but I would say that another guy that if he sits a year or two, he could be really, really special. I think a team like Buffalo, hate to say it, but a team potentially like New England would really be high on this kid and really make things happen. Now, to wrap it up, I wanted to go a full half hour on here. I wanted to spend the next 5 minutes or so talking about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's a very interesting prospect to me for a lot of reasons. So many people have asked me, whether they're sending me messages in the Thomas Take mailbag or whatever it may be. They say, what do you think of Lamar Jackson? Do you like him? Do you not like him? You didn't like Tyrod Taylor. Do you not like Lamar Jackson? I didn't like Tyrod Taylor because Tyrod Taylor couldn't throw. Lamar Jackson can throw. So they're not really similar in terms of that, other than the fact that they're both mobile quarterbacks. Looking at Jackson, he is one of the biggest anomalies that I can remember in a draft. There's so many moments where I watch him and I think, wow, I haven't seen a quarterback like this since Mike Vick or RG3, maybe even better in some moments than RG3 was coming out in 2012 in some moments. And then there are moments that you scratch your head and you wonder, is it all legit? Is he legit? Is it just flashes in the pan? Is he a flash in the pan? There's moments where I wonder that. Lance Zierlein said evaluating Jackson against the NFL standards for the position will cause him to come up very short. However, he has rare speed and athleticism and can single-handedly win games. Jackson's accuracy is clearly spotty, and teams must decide the level of accuracy they're willing to live with relative to his ability to create explosive plays. Jackson may need to operate in an offense ready to integrate RPOs, run-pass options, along with heavy play action, like Deshaun Watson in 2017. Jackson has the ability to counter mental mistakes and turnovers with a high number of explosive touchdown-making plays. Star potential, but his success will rest heavily upon his ability to stay healthy. I could not have said that any better myself because it's exactly what I was going to say. My main concern with Lamar Jackson is his size or lack thereof. In particular, his body mass, his lower body mass. You look at some of the quarterbacks that have similar skill sets to Lamar Jackson these last few years. Michael Vick, Robert Griffin III, Russell Wilson, Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick, Wilson, Vick especially had strength to take a hit. Robert Griffin III, I think one of the reasons that we could say he, kind of was out of the league and didn't really do as well as he did in his rookie year, he didn't know how to slide. So he was taking the hits that were unnecessary, almost like a fighter that is willing to entertain the fans rather than living to fight another day. So Lamar Jackson is a little bit of that. Is there moments where he gets down? Is there moments where he throws the ball away? Yes, but they are few and far between. And his size or lack thereof and his lower body mass, his legs. Russell Wilson has tree trunks. Colin Kaepernick was Shred City. Robert Griffin III, even, although he was a little slight, he was willing to create an open play, and he took a lot of hits, took too many hits, and that's why he got out of the league, but he was at least able to take some hits until he had his injuries. Michael Vick, probably the greatest scrambling quarterback ever. I can't think of anybody better than him. Vick was a guy that was able to get out of bounds or throw the ball, extend the play. That's what Lamar Jackson needs to do. That's what Lamar Jackson needs to do and add to his game. Extend the play with your legs to throw rather than to run. And if he can do that, his potential, the two words that were used in his scouting report were star potential. That's there for Lamar Jackson. That is why he did what he did in college at Louisville. That's why he won the Heisman Trophy. He's got that ability, but at the NFL level, you got linebackers that can run as fast as running backs. You got safeties that can hit as hard as linebackers and corners that can run as fast as wide receivers and as crisp as a wide receiver. So there's a lot of different dynamics from the NCAA to the NFL that if Jackson can adapt his game in the slightest way, it could go a long way to making him a much better player than what he is given credit for right now. I'm willing to say that with everything that I've watched. But if I were to do a ranking, whatever. I mean, I'd say Darnold, Rosen, Allen, Mayfield, Jackson, or Allen, Mayfield, Allen, Rudolph, Jackson, and Mayfield. I would actually put Mayfield last on my list due to the limited offense that he ran at Oklahoma. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Bring you the 2018 NFL quarterback draft class. My thoughts on the quarterbacks, my thoughts on where I think these guys could go. You'd have to tune in to 32 picks in 32 days for that. Take care, everybody. Last but not least, let's